Hello, welcome back to Literary Gladiators. My name is Maddie. I'm Madi Laster here on YouTube, and I'm here today for our Roundtable Read reviewing 1984, the graphic novel, which is adapted and illustrated by Fido Nesti of the original George Orwell novel. I feel like most people know some of the themes and major plot points of 1984 just because it's become such a classic, so popular, but I actually have never read the original novel. I don't know, in college and high school it was never a book that we read, but so this is my first time actually consuming any of 1984. Which I'm not exactly sure how much of the novel was adapted and changed to fit this format. So just a little disclaimer there, because I haven't obviously interacted or experienced the original novel. But there we go. Overall, I think that I found it to be a little boring. I don't think it's necessarily my type of novel. It's very political, obviously, and philosophical, and I just wasn't vibing with it. I think that I was very grateful that this was in graphic novel form, because some parts were really dry to me, and if it were in a classic like novel format, long form, then I feel like I might have like really struggled to get through it in terms of finishing it at all. But the art style, Fido Nesti does a good job of like making it seem desolate and drab and dreary, because that's a big, that's what this world is. So the art style reflects that perfectly, and there's some parts where you can see the emotion and there's action, and in that part he does use a little bit of color, like the end here where he uses red, which I think also is like, a lot of the emotions and that are explored, like fear and hate and love also, which I think are all like connected to the red color. So if you don't know anything about 1984, there's basically a totalitarian state where Big Brother is like this ruler over what is called Oceania, which is basically London. There's parts of the United States, well, all the Americas, and some parts of like Africa that like consist of this state. And there's two other states, and there's basically constant war, but they keep changing who they're at war with, because, spoiler, I guess, there's not really any war. I don't know, it's just a way to keep the citizens kind of in this state of dread and fear, anxiety, lack, where, that then can help control their emotions, and their, fear controls a lot in the world in general. So I think that the party capitalizes on that. So I think that aspect of it is very well explored in terms of its connection to modern society and maybe how our future society could look. I'm sure there's a lot better analyses out there about like the political aspect of it and how it, maybe mirrors some of our world. So I would say maybe I'm not the best person to comment on that. There were a couple parts, the parts of action where, there was like things going on. The action, that's what, that were really compelling to read, which I really enjoyed. It was like when he, again, another spoiler alert, when him and Julia get caught, it was like heart thumping, I liked that part. I don't know if in the original novel, Julia and Winston is the main character, by the way. I don't know if Winston and Julia's relationship is actually explored further, or if it's like because it's a main plot point in this graphic novel. So I think I obviously assume that it's a main point in 1984, but I felt like this was more not introspective, but it was kind of a back burner plot point, in the sense that even when him and Julia end up together and then they're like going through their like secret relationship, it's still about Winston and his thoughts on like what is happening in the party, what's reality, what's not, the double speak, you know, like it's very focused on the political and philosophical, so it's very much not focused on their love story per se, which again, I don't know if that's the case in the original novel or if it's just because this was adapted, which this is quite a long graphic novel. It was like 260 pages or so, and right smack dab in the middle there's like excerpts from a book that Winston is reading, and I found this part to be like the hardest part to get through. So I really don't know how much of the original novel was like cut for this, because it seems like there's a lot of content in here. In general, this novel is really dreary and depressing and yeah, just drab, which I mean is the point of it, right? And very kudos to both Fido Nesti and George Orwell for making the reader feel that like in their soul as they're reading it. I don't know if I'll give 1984 a read. I feel like if I were in a classroom setting where I could really like analyze and bounce ideas off of other people, because you always understand, and like it's so good to just have that like conversation and the ability to like share ideas in a classroom setting. Like I feel like I learn a lot more about what I'm reading, the analyses of it, and you know, so if I were ever in a classroom setting and had to read this again, or like really dive deep into 1984 with like, again, like a peer or something, I would maybe read it. But on my own, just for fun, I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up. So those are my thoughts. I say, like again, like I said, I'm glad that I read this as the graphic novel version. It made it at least somewhat enjoyable. Okay, thank you guys for watching and for having me again for another Roundtable Read. It's always good to expose yourself to things that you normally wouldn't be exposed to. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.